Hello. I am drawing up the equipment list over on the right. So today we're going to need a foam roller and some type of stick or barbell or something that you can put on your back and like twist, or you can hold on to and go overhead that direction. So after Monday's workout, I'm quite sore, which has led me to today's workout, which is going to be a recovery day. And a lot of you don't really know what a recovery workout is. And so that's what we're going to explain and go through today. Equipment list, foam roller, and let's see, a broomstick. And a mat if you have a hard floor. Yeah, so a recovery day. If you talk to any competitive athlete, let's say a cyclist, he or she doesn't do every single ride they do as hard as they can possibly go. While you may think that's how they work out, that's actually detrimental to your fitness. So we want to work out hard for certain periods of time and then give our bodies time to recover and repair themselves so we can go, just that same intensity next time on those hard little bouts. But it also gives you time to make sure your body heals up and recovers in between those. So let's say you've worked out really hard and your body's pretty sore, but you still want to move and be active. So that's what today is for. We're going to do some stretching, some light exercises, and some recovery type movements like with a foam roller and a broomstick that you can do if, say, for example, you're sore, but you still want to move and be active. So this can promote recovery. It can actually speed up your recovery time. So if you're sore, you might be feeling a lot better after this recovery workout. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right into it here. And I've got you starting off with 5 sun salutations. Now this is one we've done in the past. It's a flowing sequence of several moves. I'll start off slow and then we're going to progress up with a little bit of speed on that. So today I've got just kind of a nice relaxed moving art. This is one of my favorite things to watch as I'm home doing things, cooking, cleaning the house, just scenes in nature. Kind of low-key, got some cool music played to it. And let's start off with those sun salutations. That's going to be starting with the close stance. I'm going to reach overhead. I'm taking this one nice and slow. We're going to fold forward down towards the floor. It's okay to have a little bend here to your knees. I'm going to step one leg back as far as I can. So remember, keep track of which leg you step back with. So I'm going to step back with my right foot into a nice deep lunge. So I'm taking this foot all the way down, or that knee to the floor, and I'm trying to drive my hips forward and feel a little bit of a pull on the front of this leg and a little bit of a pull kind of back in the backside of the other hip. From there, we step together. We're going to slowly control the lower phase with my elbows tucked in. Point my toes and press up into a press up here. This should feel pretty good on your low back. Let's make sure your feet are shoulder width apart. We're going to tuck your toes in towards your shins, and we're sitting back into a downward dog. So remember, we step back with the right foot. Now we want to step forward with the right foot as far as you can get it. If you can get it up here between those two hands, that's the ideal position we want to be in. And now we're hitting that same deep lunge stretch and bringing it together to that forward fold, slowly working up and back overhead. So on this one, take your time with it. You can hang out as long as you would like in each of those positions or poses. If one feels better than the other, or you feel like you need to work on more than the other, then spend a little bit more time in that position. So let's speed it up just a little bit now. And I'm going to do the same thing leading with my right foot. So overhead, fold forward down towards the floor. Right step goes way back to a deep lunge. I'm going to bring my shoulders back, chest up, and chin up a little here. Step together. My hands should be underneath my lower chest or high abdomen here. I'm slowly lowering. Point my toes, press up. With your feet shoulder width apart, let's point your toes back up, and we're sitting back into a downward dog. My heels are pushed to the floor, hips are raised upward, and I'm trying to keep my knees somewhat straight here. A little bit is okay. Then right foot forward. That way we get that other deep lunge stretch. It's okay to go up on your fingertips if you're having a hard time here. Step together. All the way back up top. If you have yoga blocks at home, those are meant specifically for exercises like this. So if you can't quite reach the floor with your palms, we can place a little block underneath there and give you more support. So let's go a little quicker on the next couple. Overhead, full forward. We're going to flow through this one just a bit. I'm going to switch feet. Left foot back. Right foot back. Lower down, press up. Point my toes up, downward dog. And it's our left foot again that goes forward to a deep lunge. If you got to take 2 steps there or multiple steps, that's okay. As long as you get that foot up there, together, all the way overhead. And let's do one more of those, down to the floor. We're flowing through, left foot back. Right foot back, lower down. We're pressing up into a cobra. Sitting back into a downward dog. Left foot forward. Step together, forward fold, and slowly bring it all the way back overhead. All right, the great thing about those are they hit a lot of those major muscle groups that we utilize through our various workouts. Hamstrings, a lot of those muscles along the spine, shoulders and chest, hip flexors. So let's get a little bit of work in today. So we're not going to make it a totally easy day. We're getting a little bit of work with a little bit of stretch and recovery in there. So I'm going to bring my camera angle down. I'm working to the floor. And we're doing a spinal rotation, which is laying flat. I'm going to kick one leg out and have one knee pulled towards my chest. So I'm going to lay my head down. I can anchor this hand down with like either the weight or the edge of a couch or something to grip onto if you need. And we're going to rotate this knee across your body and try to keep this shoulder down as we pull that across. On this one, try to pull your knee towards your chest a bit, and you'll notice that that starts to get a little bit more stretch through that outside of your hip. If you let your knee drop down, then we may feel more of that stretch in your low back. And since I'm a little bit sore through my chest and shoulders, I'm really feeling that one over here on my left arm that's anchored down towards the floor. I'm going to spend about 10 to 15 seconds. A couple big deep breaths. And then I'm going to switch that up. So straighten out that leg. Let's pull your other leg across this side of your body. And we're taking that all the way down as low as you can get with keeping this shoulder down. So this may be one where it's a little bit challenging to keep your breathing pattern going. As you twist through your torso, your diaphragm can get a little twisted in there, everything gets compressed a bit. So don't stretch to the point where you're feeling like you can't breathe. All right, I'm gonna bring it up to just 10 regular sit-ups, and hands can either be tucked into your chest. If you need assistance on this one, you can chop or reach out in front. If you need a little more challenge, bring your hands back, but I want to keep it light and just go hands right here on the shoulders. 1, 2, and we're just going to 10. 3, 4, 5. I think we've got New Zealand on my moving art in the background, which I've never been, but it's definitely on our list to get to. And there's our 10, nice job. Let's go to one more on each of those two. So let's lay back. I'm going to start by pulling one knee across the opposite side of my body with keeping this arm anchored. Let's go for about 15 more seconds here. we're slowly going to start pulling that knee back to center. Switch it up. And we'll count off another 15 seconds worth of stretch. And there's our 15. Let's bring your knees back together, feet shoulder width apart, and let's pull 10 more sit-ups. Up to the top, slow on that way down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 more, 7. So we shouldn't be getting to the point of really burning on these. 8, 2 to go. Just to the point where you feel like you're doing a little bit of work. And there's our 10. Good. So if we can think of exercise as a stress to your body, we create these periods of stress, time away and recovery, and that leads to rebuilding a little bit stronger, a little bit better. All right, so next one, let's go ahead and grab your barbell or your broomstick, whatever you've got a hold of. If you don't have one of these, just a long, like a towel will work. You can hold on to your towel. And I'm gonna scoot back just a bit where you can see me. I've got a nice wide grip, and I'm gonna pull that overhead just to where I can feel a nice stretch through my shoulders and chest. If that's it, bring it back over, and we're doing some repetitions here, about 10 of these. So hold for a second or two at the back, and then pull up. If you're not quite getting the stretch you need, bring your hands a little bit closer, and that's going to intensify your stretch. I'm going to go back a little bit wider, just to make it more comfortable on my shoulders. And if you can get around all the way, let's go all the way around and back. I call these shoulder dislocates. There's 3 in. I'm going to go for about 7 more of these. And you can take a break in between if you start to get a burn through your shoulders. So you shouldn't feel any type of pinchiness or pain as you go through that motion. If you do, try to take your grip a little bit wider, or you can restrict the range of motion that you're performing. So if you can only get to here without discomfort, that's all I want you to go. But if you can get that full range of motion, go for it. Nice job. I'm going to go, I think, 1 or 2 more here. Lost track. There we go. And in between these, I'm going to work on a bit of a side lunge. So just get some blood flowing through those muscle groups. I'm not really challenging myself a ton on these. Again, kind of like those sit-ups to where I'm feeling a little bit of work, but I'm not overworking. So I'm getting some blood flow, getting those muscles loosened up. There's 1 in. I'm going to go to 10 on this side, 10 on the other. 2. As I do this lunge, try to make sure that your knee is lining up right over the top of your foot. We don't want it pushing outward here. And if I drew a line down, it's away from my foot. So bring it in, make sure it's all lining up correctly. 4. And as I go from the side, I do hinge forward just a little, but I'm not in this position. I want to make sure that my back is engaged and I'm upright. 6, 7, or you can do whatever you want to with your hands. If you like them out here for balance or across your hips, that's okay. 9, I just prefer to put them up here in front. All right, shake them out a little, and let's do the same count the other direction. Nice wide stretch, and then back in. And a lot of you may have one side that's tighter than the other or stronger than the other. That's okay. Like for example, I've got this inner thigh, maybe it just feels a little bit tighter than my other side. And that's a chronic thing I've been fighting for a little while. It's okay. Just do what you can and listen to what your body's giving you as feedback. Let's go a couple more repetitions here, nice and slow. And we got it. Nice job. All right, let's go back to your stick or your towel, and I'm going to give you a little variation on this one. So instead of just going straight over and back, let's keep one arm anchored, and I want you to think about kind of getting a bigger range of motion just with the one side. So this side is going to stay anchored, my left, and my right is really doing all that work. I'm gonna go for about 8 to 10, and then I'll switch sides. And again, if you feel any type of pinchiness or pain, that's an indication to back off. There we go. 7, I'm gonna go one more, then I'll switch sides. All right, since I'm kneeling, I'm gonna switch legs here. All right, out and around. Like I've got a little bit of funkiness in that side, so I'm gonna shift around, decrease my range of motion, and now I'm feeling a lot better with that smaller range on this side. There we go. That's the shoulder that was getting me after I did a lot of housework a couple weeks ago. Or I guess that was last week. And let's go one more repetition here. Nice and small range of motion, just what feels good for you. All right, let's go 1-1 the lunges. Let's switch it instead of side to side. Let's go backwards on these. So I'm gonna go 10 going back on one side, 10 back on the other, just to here, and then pull up. If you'd like to, you can pull your knee through with you. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, shoulders back, chest up. 8, make it a good quality rep since we're only getting 10. 9, and 10. Well, most of your reps should be good quality repetitions. I'd encourage you to never perform a bad form repetition just for the sake of doing it. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 more to go. 8, again, shoulders back, chin up, chest up. 9. And you can do whatever you'd like to with your hands. 10. All right. So we should be starting to feel a little more loose. And we're going to a triangle pose and jumping jacks. So a triangle pose is going to be wide on your feet. I'm going to angle out one toe. So I'm going to angle my right toe out. That means my right hand is going to be supported on my leg. Left hand is going to be up in the air. Try to keep both knees straight or extended. And I'm slowly hinging down. So I should be feeling a stretch here in my oblique. Maybe a little bit in the back of this hamstring here of the leg that's angled out. I want to look up towards my hand and try to slowly start drifting down as far as I can comfortably get. So again, today we're doing like 10 to 15 seconds on our holds. Not too long. If you're doing this at home, feel free to pause and hold a little bit longer on each one if you need. All right, shake them out a little, switch feet. The other foot points out. My right one's pointing straight forward. Right hand in the air, both legs straight. I'm looking towards my hand or towards the ceiling of where my hand's pointing. And I should be feeling a stretch here in my oblique and the back side of this hamstring. All right, slowly raise back up out of there. And we've got 30 seconds of jumping jacks. Take them nice and easy. We're not trying to crush it on these. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep a slow, nice, steady pace. While we're doing some jumping jacks, we did get news in Nevada that gyms will be opening this Friday, or they'll be allowed to open this Friday. So if you're a large gym, you have to have 50% capacity and still maintain about that 6 feet barrier or distance between people exercising. They're not going to allow the showers or saunas or anything like that to be open. Let's see where we're at. And we're there. Good. So that's good news. That we'll be opening the doors to some of our gyms, having access to more equipment. I'm not sure. Let's see who else is from what states, what you guys are doing in those states. Let's go to one more triangle pose and then one more jumping jack. So a nice wide stance. Angle one foot out. That's the side we lower down onto. Straight knees, looking up. And imagine you got a pane of glass in front of you and behind you. And you're trying to stay between those two panes of glass. That's going to keep you from rotating this direction, where it's going to be nice and upright with this shoulder. This one's going to be a little tricky on balance, so feel free to hold on to something if you need. All right, switch feet. And that same thing the other direction there. Don't be afraid to go really wide with your stance. It'll be a little funky if you don't go wide enough. All right, one more on the jumping jacks, 30 more seconds. Nice and easy. So these stretches aren't necessarily from any type of particular yoga routine except for the sun salutations. And there's some that I've picked up along the way that I really like. But recovery days can be, whatever you want it to be. As long as you're moving and you're keeping the intensity pretty light, you can consider that a recovery day. Right, nice work. So let's say if you're a runner and are really tired or fatigued or sore, if you don't want to take an off day, just do a really light intensity jog or run, and you'll end up feeling better after that than not doing anything at all. All right, so let's go to some cat cows, and that's down on the floor in a tabletop position. All right. So my hands should be underneath my shoulders, my knees should be underneath my hips. Sometimes I'll see people want to have too much distance here and their back starts to drop down too much. So knees right underneath there, it's a pretty short base. And I want to try to sag my back as low as I can from here. And I'm going to arch back up that opposite direction. So this is our scared cat in this position. And as we sag down, if we looked at a cow's back and their belly hanging down, this is more what a cow should look like. So just slowly working back and forth, pushing up, and then back down. And I'm going for about 8 to 10 repetitions back and forth. Just work at your own speed. And this one should be really light. It should feel pretty good on your low back. This is a good one to do if you've been sitting a lot. So today I had about 4 hours worth of Zoom meetings, and that's already got my back a little bit tightened up, so this one feels really good for me. Let's go one more repetition here. And I'm going to go to a modified push-up. So knees are a little closer together. I'm going to bring it back just a bit. I'm going to bring my hands up a little bit to where I can straighten my body out a bit more. And I'm going to slowly lower. I'm going to go all the way to the ground, lift pressure off my hands for a second, tighten my core, and press back up to the top. If you want to go ahead and do some regulars here, that's okay. 2, I'm going to go through 10 modifieds. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If you didn't follow along with Monday's workout, we ended up doing quite a bit of push-ups. If you made all 10 rounds, we did 200. All right. Which, even though, we broke them down into sets of 20 repetitions, they add up towards the end of that 10th round. They were a real struggle to finish out. All right, let's do one more in there. One that's called a pigeon pose. So from that same tabletop position, I'm going to go kind of at an angle, hopefully you can see here. I'm going to tuck, so say from a high push-up, I'm going to tuck one leg underneath, like that. And we want to try to get it somewhat this direction. So try not to have it tucked straight underneath. I want it rotated up and in, okay? And then from that position, we're gonna relax to that opposite knee. And I use this foot to start working myself backwards. And when I do that, I should really feel this hip up front getting the pole that I'm trying to hit. And you'll notice with a little different hip position, so you can push towards the floor or straight back up, you can achieve a slightly different stretch. So mess around a little bit with your position of your hips, see what feels like it's needed the most, and try to hang out there for a good 10 to 15 seconds. All right, I'm gonna straighten out, tuck my other leg underneath. And again, I'm using this opposite foot to kind of start working or inchworming myself backwards into that stretch. If you find this foot wants to really track underneath your body, you can grab onto it and just anchor it in place with this hand. Some people can also pull themselves down to the floor on top of that leg. Let's bring it back up to a few more of those cat-cows. So arms a little bit of a shake. A little swing forwards and backwards. And let's go for about 8 more cycles there. So tabletop, sagging down, and slowly rounding back up to the top. Sag down. There's 2 in. Let's go for 6 more. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. Last one. And there's our 8. Good. Let's go for a few more of those modified push-ups. One thing I want you to focus on is as we do that push-up, if I were to look at you from right underneath your body, my hands should be about level with the middle portion of my chest. I'll notice some beginners will often want to put their hands really high. Like say if I drew a line from my eyes, they'll try to push from that position. They feel a little bit stronger there. So let's make sure we bring them down, and that'll help you recruit more of the chest. If we bring it up high to here, then we're really putting a lot of stress on your anterior delta, the front of your shoulders. So try to focus on that in the second round, the placement of your hands in relation to your torso. And as I go down, my elbows should line up somewhere close to over the top of my hands. A little bit of splay over the top or inward is okay. That just depends on how you have your arms rotated. Try to avoid having them way out here to the side. I'm gonna tuck them in just a little bit, kind of at a 45 from my torso going downward. 2, let's go for 10 easy reps. 3, 4, 5. If you need to readjust on this one, that's okay. 6, you often start to drift backwards from your pivot point, your knees. 9 and 10. And I've noticed that people drift backwards more so if they've got their hands high up here. They're really kind of pushing themselves down one direction. All right, let's go for one more of those pigeon poses. And if you're having trouble on this one, one alternative you can do is grab a seat, start with one leg pretty low, and we're just gonna prop that up on top of that other thigh. So try not to have your ankle rolled in like this. I wanna make sure I'm supporting that lower leg with the other foot. And then to get the stretch, I'm gonna start working that foot towards me. This knee needs to have a little pressure downward, and then your torso should hinge forward and lean into that. So we're still achieving that same stretch, but this one puts less stress on your shoulders and wrists, unless you use gravity to assist you a little bit more than fighting gravity. All right, let's go ahead and switch sides. So again, start low. The higher you bring that knee, the more stretch you're gonna get in that opposite hip. Remember to put pressure downwards, flat spine, and fold forward. So let's go to a kneeling hip flexor stretch. This is one of my favorites. If you're not doing this one every day, start doing it every day. We've got one knee down. I want to stride this other leg pretty far out in front, okay? I want to tighten up my shirt here where you can see the position of my hips. And I want to think about, this is where most people want to go with this stretch. They kind of let their hips tilt forward and then they want to arch their back. And this is not the stretch we're trying to get. So I actually want to take my hips underneath this direction. So if your hips are a bowl of water, I want to kind of tilt backwards and spill that water out of the back of the bowl. So once I do that, I should already feel a pull right here. Then if you do need more stretch after that, then we can start driving your body forward. So this isn't arching back over the top. It's just tilting my hips and then driving forward into that position. Then you can use this leg for support or something else to hold on to. I find that if you can relax into a stretch, you get a lot more benefit versus trying to tense up and fight the balance portion of it. There we go, good. I'm gonna slowly work my way back and let's switch sides. So remember, stride out far enough here. I don't want this knee to be way over the top of the foot here. That's going to put some stretch here, which is fine, but that's not what we're trying to achieve on this one. So foot out, hands on your hips, let's spill water out of the back of your bowl first, and then drive forward. That leg that's down over here, try to relax as best you can. Your body's pretty good at protecting itself. It's called guarding. If you stretch a little too far, your body starts to tense those muscles up in order to keep you from being injured. If we do things in a safe and mindful way, we can kind of start to bypass a little bit of that guarding reaction that your body has in a safe way. And that's where we're really going to achieve the benefit out of the stretch. Relaxing, going past our kind of standard spot where we would normally stop, but again, not going too far. All right. So let's use our foam roller. Go ahead and get that thing out. And I'm going to have you do this for your thoracic spine. So your thoracic spine is, if I'm looking from the front, I've got 7 cervical vertebrae that run to about right here on the back. And then from here to about here, I've got 12 vertebrae called my thoracic area. And that's the area that we're going to target. I can't do that from the back, but let's say right in through here if I'm drawing a line to the back side of my body. From here to here, then I've got my lumbar spine, those 7 vertebrae down there. Or C5, T12, and then C to 7. So I want you to place this just underneath your shoulder blades. There we go. So my shoulder blades are sitting just right at the top of that roller. Now, the next important part is I want to tighten my abdomen. I want to make sure, again, just like that hip flexor stretch, I don't want my belly or low back to arch to get more range of motion on this one. So I'm locked in here first. Next, I'm going to support myself here. And I'm going to keep my low back engaged and abdomen engaged. And I'm going to let my upper torso, that thoracic spine, arch over the top. This might feel a little bit stressful for some people. If you're feeling like it's painful, back off. Or reposition yourself to where you may have it a little bit higher on your back. So I'm going to go right here, stomach squeezed in tight. I'm trying to let my upper back relax as my abdomen contracts. That can be a little challenging. You may get a little pop in your back here and there, that's okay. And to relax out of this one, we're just going to crunch forward and flex my thoracic spine that opposite direction. So notice my hips are staying down, I'm not letting them lift. Abdomen tight, arch over. And try to let that upper back relax as most you can. If you need more intensity here, we can reach your arms all the way up straight. You can let your head and arms kind of pull down on that part of your back. If you can reach down, feel your abdomen, make sure it's engaged. And crunch back out of that one. Nice job. All right, let's go back to one more on that kneeling hip flexor. So I'm going to start off with left knee down. This time I'm going to use that roller for balance to help me relax into my stretch just a little bit more. All right, toes pointed way back here. I'm going to tilt my hips back, drive forward, and hold on to something for some support. And Let's just go 10 to 15 seconds again, nice and easy. One technique that I try to do is every breath out that I take, I try to inch just a little bit further if I can. There's going to be a point where you can no longer continue to travel forward in the safe or correct form. So be mindful of that. Good. And today is just for recovery. So if you want to actually achieve more flexibility, you'll need to hold these stretches quite a bit longer. All right. I'd recommend shooting for at least a minute if you're wanting to gain flexibility, and preferably if you can hold upwards up into the 2-minute range, I think you'll notice a really big difference in the amount of flexibility that you'll achieve after a couple weeks. So here with these today, we're not trying to gain flexibility, we're just trying to loosen stuff up and get things kind of prepped and working the way that they should. Often if you've had a hard workout, you'll notice that like certain parts of your body are really tight and they don't want to, move the way that they should. Not to mention the soreness associated with that too. So just doing these light, easy stretches may get you just a little bit more range of motion, let your body move a little more freely and feel better. So hands behind your head or overhead for support. Stomach in nice and snug, arch over your roller. Let's hold for about 10 seconds and I'll give you a little break and then we'll do one more like that same thing. And let's crunch forward out of there. Give your body a little bit of a break on that upper back. Stomach tight before you arch. And let's do one more 10-second hold. All right, crunch forward out of there. Nice job. So next up, I'm gonna have to sit cross-legged. So I'm gonna pull one foot underneath. I'm gonna try to prop my legs down towards the floor, and I'm gonna start leaning forward into this stretch. If this one's challenging for you, use your foam roller or some kind of yoga block or something that provides a little bit of height. So even bringing myself somewhere around, 4 inches off the floor, that makes it a lot easier on my hips. But I'm a little more flexible than that, so I'm going to tuck one leg under. Let's try to get a nice upright spinal position. Push your knees down, and then we're going to start folding forward into that little cross-legged sit position. And on this one, play around a little bit with, reaching maybe to one side, getting a little bit of that low back. You can walk around, see what feels best for you. I'm going to have you relax out of this one, and I'm going to have you switch feet. It's going to feel pretty awkward for some of you. And same thing, another 10 seconds worth of holding that stretch. All right, nice job. Next one, we're going to use your roller again for some assistance for a press up. So this is just like what we did in the sun salutation, except for my hands and shoulders aren't supporting me now. I'm just kind of resting on my elbows. This one I do want to let my back arch as much as I can in that lower back area. And I'm going to look upwards. All right, we'll finish this one off with sitting back into a child's pose stretch. You can still use that roller to kind of roll back. All right, let's go back to your belly. One more on each of those two. If this isn't quite high enough for you, go ahead and push back up to your hands. And the closer you walk your hands to your body, the more stretch you'll get. Sit back over your feet. All right, and the last one we'll do with the roller here is going to be laying your spine along the roller. And make sure you've got your head supported. I'm going to start off with just like a kid making a snow angel. My thumbs are facing in, my hands are in contact to the floor. I'm going to go out to the side and about shoulder height, flip your thumbs upwards and then reach all the way overhead. And then reverse that back to the floor. So I've got a little sticking point on this shoulder. So when I get to about here, I need to kind of lift up and around that to avoid any type of pinchiness or pain. So if you've got something similar, try to do that where you lift up a little to avoid those pinchy or tight spots. Okay, let's go for about 4 more of these. Let's call it 5 cycles in. So in the next repetition, squeeze your stomach down and in, and make sure that your back isn't really arching off of that in the low back area. That's going to ensure the mobility is coming from your shoulders and not from your spine flexing in a funky position. Two more. All right. So those are some ideas you can do, hopefully on your own. And again, make it whatever you'd like to on your own recovery days. If you're particularly sore, let's say in your legs, and you can spend a little bit more time on stretching and exercises for those, or vice versa. But remember the formula that stress plus rest equals progress or recovery. So we want to have, a long-term goal of making progress as we get more and more fit. And if you do too much stress, so stress, you're going to end up breaking down and not giving your body the time it needs to recover. So recovery is just as or even more important than the actual exercise itself. That's where I'm going to let you go today. And like I said, gyms here are opening up. So I'm going to try to keep putting some of these up, at least 1 a week. And we'll see how that goes over the next couple weeks. And if my schedule starts to fill up too much at the gym, I'm going to go back to 100% on in person. But for now, I'm going to try to keep doing at least 1 day a week. I'll let you know what day. Today's Wednesday. I will be putting one up this Friday. And I'll just kind of give you a little bit more information on that day. So thanks again. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you on Friday.